I often use checklist or list of questions to evaluate literature. These lists are available in almost any research textbook. Often, you need to develop your own system for analyzing literature to fit your research objectives. During this lecture, I will go through some of the things I look for in a research article or thesis. When I teach this in a classroom, I usually bring examples of effective research and pointless research articles, and then have groups of students provide analysis. When I am reviewing a document, I begin with looking at the source of the article. I try to figure out the institutional, political, religious, or corporate affiliations of the researchers. Evaluating research often boils down to asking a bunch of questions or using a checklist. The researcher's affiliations could skew the results of the research. Research papers should contain original quantitative or qualitative data rather than only discuss information collected by others. If the whole article is a literature review or meta-analysis, it must contribute some original thought to the research question. The researcher should specify an appropriate unit of analysis. It should be clear whether the researcher records a single event, measures an event occurring in the specific time interval, or conducts a longitudinal study that measures changes over time. The author should state the purpose and motivation for conducting the research. Some questions I may ask include: what keywords does the author use for the purpose of the study? Is she exploring, describing, explaining, evaluating, or assessing needs? Does the author adequately define technical terms and acronyms? Does the author include a history of research with similar variables? The researcher should also clearly describe the research design and whether they are using quantitative methods, qualitative methods, or mixed methods to gather data. How does an author define the concepts and identify the variables in the study? Is the researcher looking at nominal, ordinal, interval, or racial variables? How does the author select his samples? Are participants selected at random using probability? Is the selection biased? Or is it just sampling the most accessible participants? How large is a sample? Can inference to larger populations be made from the sample in the study? How does the author describe surveys, interview guides, observation methods, or questionnaires? You get the idea. There's just a bunch of questions that you should be asking about the research. Some of the things also involve statistical analysis. Does the author compare the means? Is it a multivariate analysis? How does the author identify significance, correlations, or statistical error? Is there a clear description of the research finding? In the end, does the author answer the research question, find a satisfactory solution to the problem, or decide to accept the hypothesis or null hypothesis? It is always important that you distinguish the research articles from the discussion articles. Quantitative studies usually follow a logical flow. The researchers are performing an experiment, which is a rare find in NCRP, or they analyze the data from field studies, correlational analysis, or questionnaires. The selection process and sampling is very important in quantitative studies. I found the headings in Aviard's text to be a good set of questions to evaluate discussion articles when you need to use them. You should always look at the articles and ask yourself, does the premises match the conclusion? Does the solution match the problem? Did the data significantly prove or disprove the hypothesis? Did the researcher discover something beyond the obvious? This is the final lecture for week 1, and here are the final discussion board questions. I look forward to reading all of your responses this week.